what business have we trotting off to Europe, looking for higher intervention prices, looking for higher intervention levels, looking for a suspension in superlevy, when you've got the Germans and the French who are looking for supply measures? We're, as I said in the Farmers Journal this week, production up 30% on the month, production last year up 13%. And then we're going to keep pumping milk, and yet at the other stage we're demanding that Europe intervene in the market. Like, where's the credibility? Was there ever any chance of getting a suspension to the superlevy?
I think there's always a chance of anything, Justin, if there's a political will and if the pressure and the power of numbers are behind you. And believe you me, and you said we're parochial here, and I know many dairy farmers, and I'm dairy farming myself as well as cattle, and the suspension of the superlevy bill would be a huge help at a time like... Nobody's denying it would be
a help, Joe, but is it reality? Is Europe... That needs change at Europe. Is Europe... we have to be real here. The powerhouses of Europe now are the French and the Germans. And I presume we all have an understanding of where their positions are in relation to this issue. And how are we going to convince the French and the Germans that the Irish should get a suspension to their superlevy?
Well, we've convinced many people down through the years of special cases for Ireland, and I think this is... I think the very first thing we could have done was to push a credible case for it, to look for it, and that hasn't been done. And dairy farmers are on their knees at the moment. Like, you know, it has to be a level playing field. I mentioned to you about the cost of inputs, and if we could have €47, if we were paying €47 a tonne less for fertiliser, then we mightn't be in such a bad way to get the superlevy suspended for a year. Farmers it's a huge time of change on dairy farms, because it's the first year without the milk quotas. We went through a massive tax bill on most dairy farms last October, and you know, you were facing into a year where stock numbers were held on the farm, so stock sales were down as well in order to be ready to produce more. And I think that at least for this year it should have been suspended. You know, I suppose you could match it, Justin. No, absolutely not false hope, because if that's given farmers false hope, is the likes of the milk flex in Glanbia, the loans, when
that's achievable, that's happening.
But when milk price, yes, but if you listen to what I'm saying, when the milk price drops below a certain figure, then the farmers, that loan repayment will be suspended for the time being. Yeah. So, you know, what different is about this?
Because this is a big difference, Joe. One's national and the other is a European issue where you have to have pan-European support. Henry, what's your views on the quota, intervention price, and the superlevy?
Well, I think you've exposed the real problem that's there, Justin. You have about 4 to 5 of the main powerhouses in Europe going different directions. Yeah. That's the first thing. So I think what we have to do at European level as farm organisations, first of all, is try and knock our heads together a bit, because there's a responsibility on us at this stage. It's grand to go off in different directions. The French are trying to go off now with national funding and maybe incentivised to not to produce. We're trying to expand here. There's a confusion. And remember, there isn't massive overproduction here. It's been blown out of proportion. That's the first thing. There is not massive overproduction. What has happened here is consumption has slowed down a small bit. Production has accelerated, certainly. No doubt about that. But this is not, it's a massive problem at farm level on farm income. And we have to recognise, and that is definitely there for all the 5 countries. So if we could get our heads around the table a little bit and come out with a bit of a unified position, whatever it be, Justin, whether it be a bit of an increase in gender, it'll have to be a compromise. Let's face it.
Do you think we'll get that unified position, Flor, or do you think that's achievable at Europe?
No, the Germans, we have to face the reality. The Germans are the main power brokers in Europe, and I think you've rightly identified money is the issue with all problems. Now, we can all propose solutions, but to get the money for these solutions, so like the rural development programme there, the biggest issue probably is to keep the government funding that programme going forward. Obviously, sure, of course, I, more than anyone else, want to get increases in that programme, but we have to be also conscious now all the increases are coming from national funding. We don't leave any money, your EU money behind in Brussels, so you are right, we need to put the level with the farmers to tell them exactly how it is. But obviously, in a crisis situation, which we're in now, with milk getting down to us 24 cents a litre, or actually at 24 cents, and even to talk of it dropping another cent, we have to get some kind of support in place. And obviously, the suspension of the superlevy, or making the payments over a longer period, that is an option. That actually isn't getting rid of the payments, it's just prolonging the pain. I think that is achievable. But no, Justin, you are right to highlight that, we are playing. It's a tough market. We are playing with small players, and maybe we need to make better friends with the likes of the Finns and the Germans. Because I see in my term as rural development chairman, they were going to review the disadvantage area payments 5 years ago. The Germans didn't want it. It's now going to happen in 2018. He who writes the cheque is there to push out the rule. But the markets are obviously a massive issue, and Russia being close to us at the moment. And what is even more worrying is at the moment I hear the PLCs are forward selling product at these low prices. That is worrying because it's going to sustain the problem going forward. They obviously don't see a big rise coming.
Would you support an intervention price increase, Flor?
I would because we would have to hope that the floor would be that it may bring the floor, but obviously I would worry if a lot of product went into intervention. That is the real danger, and I can't see the EU going back to this situation where we previously had boats off the shore with butter in them. So there is issues there. I mean, I'd have to put more thought into it and have to have more advice, because it's very easy to propose a solution when the solution proposes to take stuff off the market, and that stuff is going to come back on the market, and we can move it to Russia or some other third world market. If we can't, if it's coming back onto our own market, that obviously is a major concern.